welcome back to the Johnson Fitness and Wellness Podcast. Today I am joined by the winner of the Southern Enterprise Award in 2022 for the Best Home Gym Design Specialist in the Southwest, the founding director of the Gym People, Guy Hollis. Say hello, Guy.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for joining. So let's get straight into it. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in designing spaces for fitness and wellness?
Sure. So I was a typical kind of sport mad child. Just any sport I could play, I played it as much as I could. And that led me all the way through to school and university where I did a sports science degree. I kind of, at that stage, sort of took my eye off the ball in terms of my own kind of fitness and well-being and kind of enjoyed all the fruits of university, as it were. And then went into being a young professional. I worked for Bristol Rugby Club, which was an amazing job. Absolutely loved it. It's a real passion of mine as well, being rugby. But then during that period, I kind of, just didn't really look after myself, probably drank a bit too much, partied a bit too much. And then I realised
what happens at uni, mate. Don't feel sorry for it.
I know.
We've all been there.
I milked it whilst there's the opportunity, but I got up to a point when I was kind of early 20s where I thought, actually, I don't feel like I've got that much energy. I'm not that happy in myself, and I realised that actually getting fit and really focusing back on fitness, which is essentially what my passion was the way to go. And in doing so, just like I said, just got a kind of like my joy for life back and felt really different in myself and a lot better. So back into the fitness world personally, I became a personal trainer, set up my own gym, which did really well for a few years, and then it was quite hard going. So essentially we thought it's not working. So I went into consultancy, having learned loads of really valuable business lessons and specifically about how to run gyms. So that evolved into gym design. So rather than sort of going into existing projects, I was very lucky to have the opportunity to set up gyms from scratch. So large commercial projects and smaller home gyms. And then as the home gym market evolved, we really kind of focused on that, built our team up, and here we are now.
Nice. Amazing. So you said that obviously you've been doing it for a while.
Yes.
It's something you've got vast experience in. So my first kind of main question is, how have you seen the concept of home gyms evolve in the last few years? Like, especially since people started to begin training at home.
Yeah. So it's been completely revolutionized, actually. So the first home gym we ever did was for a Russian oligarch.
Oh, wow.
We're talking,
That's not a common thing that people get to say.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was all quite a new experience for me, but super high end, virtually unlimited budget. And these are the sorts of people who were getting home gyms. There are people that almost had like rooms in their houses they didn't know what else to do with. So that it wasn't a very common thing prior to COVID. And then obviously a bit like the whole working from home kind of shift in lifestyle. It became a necessity, and then people started to realize, hang on a minute, I can save so much time, or I can train and get back to my kids, or I can not have to leave work, or whatever all the benefits of having a home gym were, they still post-COVID still applied.
Yeah,
sure. So essentially that was the market hugely changed during COVID. And then we had no idea if it would be a residual market or, it would be everyone back to the gyms as soon as they reopened. And what we found is there is a new market, which is the home gym market, which is not only sustained, but started to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, well, I think we also find that once someone has had a taste of home gym and what it's like to be able to pop into the garage or wherever it might be, the spare room for 45 minutes between lunch break and stuff, that it's become an addiction. That for sure has helped driving the market 100%.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our clients are fairly affluent, it's fair to say, and I mean that's not necessarily your typical client generally, but in their situation their time is very expensive. And for them to lose half an hour going to the gym and back every day, that all adds up. And actually,
For sure.
if you kind of weigh up the price to fit out a home gym versus having a gym membership, to be honest, it's probably more cost effective if you do it really well at a home gym. That is, it's probably more cost effective to go to a gym, a members gym. But if you equate your time and what that costs, and how precious that time with your family
100%.
might be that you're clawing back, it makes a lot of sense for people.
It makes it worth it 100%. So you mentioned just now about COVID, and we
Yeah.
find pre and post COVID is a real fascinating time for our world. Um, when a client says they want a home gym, what does that mean now in comparison to, let's say, pre-COVID?
Yeah, I think nowadays, to be perfectly honest, we didn't actually deliver that many home gyms pre-COVID. It wasn't really a thing. It was primarily commercial projects we
Hmm.
worked on. But pre-COVID, I think nowadays people are very inspired by what they see on Instagram and
Yeah,
social
yeah,
media. So they have a lot more imagination and actually have the concepts of what they want us to deliver as a company is vastly different. I
yeah.
think pre-COVID, even having a room where you had a few dumbbells and a treadmill and a mirror was considered a luxury
Yeah,
and something which people would aspire to have. But now I think people are aspiring for more kind of high-end design, higher quality products, and more of a designated space rather than an area of a garage, a room which has some gym equipment in. And I think ultimately also there's been a massive shift towards wellness,
yeah,
and that's recovery. I think we'll touch on it a bit later, but there's sort of
100%.
all that side of things, that the recovery and also anything to do with just general health and well-being is being incorporated into home gyms, which wasn't really a thing
Yeah,
pre-COVID.
it's definitely an upwards trend nowadays. So with that, so you're kind of going on to designing, so we'll go on to that. What's your philosophy when it comes to designing a fitness or a wellness space in someone's home?
Yeah, so for me, it's all about being immersive. So
Nice.
I think you don't want to be feeling like you're training in your garage or in your front room or in your basement, in your loft. You want to
Hmm.
feel like you've walked in and you are in a designated gym space, so you can forget the fact you've got kids downstairs, or you can forget the fact that you've got to jump on a Zoom call in half an
Yeah,
hour and you're back at work. When you're in that training environment, you are in it, and however you want that style to be, whether you want it to be, you know, energizing, calming, whatever it is that you would like it to be, we try and make it that, so that you can
yeah,
really get that mindset shift.
nice. So do you approach your designs as more functional training areas, or as more of like a lifestyle and like design aesthetic thing, or do you kind of mesh them both together?
Yeah, so I always liken it a little bit to, we listen to our clients, and that you've got to go in with a fully open mind and try and sort of park your preconceptions before
Right.
you have that initial consultation. So it's a bit like, if you go to a hairdresser's and you say, I want my hair cut like this, and they just do something completely different because they'd already decided what they're going to do, which
You're
has
not paying
happened
them.
in the past. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you're like, you clearly didn't listen to the brief. But yeah, so in terms of marrying up functionality versus design, it is very much what the client would like and what their focus is. We'll generally approach everything with, let's do go for everything and try and achieve 10 out of 10 across the board, and then we can always kind of dial it back down if it exceeds budget, or it's maybe a little bit too flash, or sometimes people don't want a gym that's very design led. They find it almost, they want somewhere a bit more spit and sawdust. It's a bit rough around the edges, so they can really let go when they
Yeah.
train. But what we tend to do is obviously listen to the client, but then try and achieve everything, and then kind of bring it back down, or essentially sort of lower what the budget might be and lower the kind of level of refinement and spec of the equipment depending on what the client needs.
So you mentioned budget and equipment and that kind of stuff. So what are the first, let's say, three things that you consider before starting a gym design process?
Yeah, so you kind of nailed it there. I think the biggest one is space. So we
Hmm.
need to know what space we're going to work with. And I think we get this quite a lot whereby in commercial gyms, equipment can look, fairly average size, like it gets lost in big rooms. Whereas you try and
Mm.
drop it into a small, home space, whether it be like I said, a loft or a basement or a garage. So I think we have to trying to align expectations with the clients as to what's actually feasible to fit
Yeah.
in the spaces. But yeah, so space first and foremost, what have we got to work with? And then of course, budget is a massive one. It's all about aligning expectations, and we understand that often clients don't want to immediately share with us their budget because
Hmm.
there's always a worry that whoever the salesperson is just going to max that out or go
Of
a little bit
course.
over. But at the same time, you need to have these frank conversations just to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Definitely. Cool.
Uh,
You don't want to be going in there with 50 grand worth of product if they can't afford 50 and their budget is 20 grand. You need to have that there, don't you? So yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, like for everyone's benefit, like everyone's time is precious, and
Yep.
we'll always do our best, but it's just useful to know. And then actually above and beyond all of those things, it's all about the consultation with the client. So as a company, we're all very much people, and we
Hmm.
really do enjoy building relationships with clients. And like as I said, from a personal perspective, I've got a real interest in fitness and well-being and the benefits of exercise in terms of your just general enjoyment of life.
Yeah.
Even throughout our team, we've got install guys who are sports scientists, and we've got, level 4 strength conditioning guy who's one of our build team. And basically, we're all passionate fitness people. And that process is just like, let's sit down with a person and really, or a family, and really kind of get under the hood, as it were, and understand why do you need a gym? Why do you want a gym? What are you looking to achieve?
Yeah.
And just really get an understanding of that. And that is the basis of all our projects, first and foremost.
Amazing. So how much does understanding the client's fitness habits or their personality influence your design process?
Yeah, it's really, really important.
I
Um,
gathered, I gathered, I gathered it would be because of your whys. Everything that you've
yeah,
said the last few questions is the whys that you asked. I gathered that it would be one of the most important things you do for sure.
yeah, exactly. And I think what obviously it's a collaboration. Like we want to take the client's input and then try and advise them as best we can. But also
Hmm.
there is an element of sometimes, you push back a little bit and say, "Well, actually, I think this would be better for you. I know you think you would like this machine. Actually, we think this would be better for you." And essentially what we're trying to do is create a space that people want to go into and want to use. That's actually like
First and foremost,
fundamental.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we all know that getting into a habit of fitness is hard. Like there's lots of barriers, there's lots of distractions, there's a million reasons why it's not a good idea.
hmm
If we can create a space that you actually want to use, want to go into, and it draws you in and it allows you to initiate that habit, that's everything. But yeah, I think first and foremost, it's if they've already got a history of training and creating that habit, and there's something that they did, way of training or a machine or whatever it might be that helps initiate that habit and
yeah.
sustain that habit. You've got that's the goal. So you need to replicate that in whatever you're producing and hopefully kind of enhance it as well.
Amazing. So you mentioned earlier on your first project was a Russian oligarch.
Yeah.
I can't imagine space was much of an issue for him.
Right. So,
But when you're doing products for people that when you're doing projects for people short on space,
hmm.
what are some of the design solutions that you come up with for them?
Sure. So on that, like we're really careful not to overfill a space, and I think
Nice.
we may talk about this a bit later, but that's a bit of a pet hate of mine. You see some gym design companies and equipment suppliers. I get the feeling they're just trying to get as much kit in as they can so they
Yeah.
can make more of a margin. So for us, we'd much rather have a space which our clients walked into and said, "This is perfect," or maybe even, "Oh, we could add a couple more things." and actually that's a more desirable outcome, obviously, than, oh, you can't move in here, that you've
Yeah.
got too much stuff. But yeah, in terms of tips, we try and get as much on the walls as we can. So
Nice.
whether you and obviously typically space vertically is easier to come by than horizontally.
Of
So
course.
if we can mount a dumbbell rack that goes up vertically, we'll try and do that. Same with plate holders, bar storage, whatever it might be.
Nice.
Obviously, we're very careful about the equipment we select and what the footprint is. So a lot of care and detail goes into that to make sure that it's, space efficient. And obviously, a really key one is just to have multi-use machines.
Yeah.
It, ideally, if you can have something like a dual pulley, which obviously you can use for hundreds of exercises by lowering the handle
Yeah.
attachments, and you can even adjust the width. That's ideal, as opposed to some. This is a classic example. Some people come to us and say, I would like a lat pull down, and they've got a small space. You think, well, actually, you could put a dual pulley in.
Yeah.
You could have a leg attachment so it works as a lat pull
Yeah.
down, and do 100 other
Yeah.
exercises. So that's a big one as well.
It's just educating the customer and what they can, what would be more useful to them.
Yeah, because like we all know, the fitness world is a minefield. There's so many different machines, so many different suppliers. Some are marketed really well and aren't very good. Some aren't marketed, but the quality is actually really good. And
Yeah.
until you actually, get in and see the components and pull machines apart and do installations, you don't really get a feel for how good the
No, of
stuff
course.
is. And yeah, so it's all those things that we try and help with, and get the customer the best solution.
Amazing. So within your designs, small spaces, large spaces, average spaces, whatever it is you deem that, how important is zoning? So for example, separating cardio and strength, do you mesh them together? How important is that in your designs?
Um, so in a commercial gym is really important because for the workout you're doing, you don't want to typically you do either strength training or cardio
Of
training or
course.
functional training. So the last thing you want to be doing is finding that different bits of equipment are miles away from each
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
because it
yeah.
just eats up time. In a home gym environment, like from a kind of design sort of mild OCD perspective, like you would want everything to flow nicely and
Yeah.
be in the right section, but the reality is it's not that important. I think if a client says to us, well, typically it's about getting the right equipment within the space, and if that means the order's not quite right, then
Hmm.
then you just go with it, and if it works for the client and they've got everything they need, great. So in a home gym environment, I wouldn't say it's that crucial.
Amazing. Well, that's good insight. So, okay, so moving on from that then, how does lighting and ventilation and that kind of stuff come into your design process?
Yeah, so it's all very important. So lighting obviously can create the mood,
Hmm.
which is, dependent on what kind of exercise you're looking to do in the space. It's a really good way of, apart from functionality wise, obviously creating light. It's a really good way of giving the gym some kind of styling and some aesthetic appeal as well. So obviously it's a tool we can play with.
Yeah.
What also we find a lot with home gyms is you're only going to be able to do so much with a small room, and
Yeah.
you're only going to have so many exercises and so many so many moves you can create. But actually, if you can put backlights and mirrors, run some LEDs, put some down lighting in, and have it running off separate switches, it just means that you can change the feel of a
Yeah.
room, and it just freshen things up a bit. And we've had it quite often where it's a married couple and the wife might want downlighters, the husband might want LEDs, then
Yeah.
he might want a really dark kind of like almost nightclub appeal. The wife might want, I'm massively stereotyping here, but the wife might want
That's
it
all
to be
right, mate.
more kind of like a yoga type feel, and then
Yeah.
more light and airy. So lighting's really important to that. And obviously ventilation, it goes without saying. I mean, it's not often very hot in the UK, but sometimes it can be pretty stifling. So we do recommend air conditioning where possible, but again, it's one of those things. It can be quite expensive, and it's
Yeah.
more of a luxury than a sort of necessity.
Amazing. So, do you design with adaptability in mind. So, for example, allowing for the gym to evolve within, let's say, 5 years. So you might be designing for someone that's just started a gym, just wants to kind of get into it, and they want like the bare basics, but in their head, they're in 5 years' time, I want to change it up a bit, and I look completely different, and I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. Do you kind of design your projects around that?
Yeah, so there's obviously various kind of staples of gyms that have stood the test of time, like weightlifting equipment and, racks and barbells and dumbbells. So we will sort of like generally push people towards things that we don't think will be kind of faddy, as it were.
Yeah.
Um, and equally, what we're really big on is if we've got a client and they've trusted in us and they've decided to use us, we genuinely will be loyal to you and support you for as long as your kind of fitness journey lasts. So
Mhm.
if someone turns around to us and says, actually, you supplied me that equipment, I'm not really using it anymore because X, Y, and Z, can you replace it? We'll always try our best to find a solution. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not always possible, but that's something that as a company we commit to. But in terms of future proofing, I think again, it's leaving space. It's like actually, but let's not cram loads of things into here. If you're not sure what you might want, let's leave some space. You can use the gym for a bit, then decide
Yeah.
if you'd like something else. And that we tend to do that as a way of future proofing, really.
Amazing. So, kind of moving on to, I know, like you mentioned, styles and stuff. What styles are currently trending? Do you find in home gym design? So, is it kind of minimalist, like luxury spa like? Is it really techy? What kind of projects are you doing the most at the moment?
Yeah, so we're being asked to carry out a lot more design on wellness-led
Hmm.
projects. So that's, the recovery, it's the general kind of well-being side of the fitness provision.
Hmm.
So whether it's saunas, ice baths, steam rooms, that side of things. So we definitely feel like the industry is heading that way.
Yeah.
So most people who are in a position to be able to afford it would rather than just a fitness facility, something which allows them to aid their recovery,
Nice.
relaxation as well. But in terms of the tech, we are finding that obviously there's the smart watches and health tracking rings and wristbands and all that kind of stuff. Mentioning their names, but yeah, so
There's a lot of products out there. If we started mentioning names of beer all day,
true. Yeah, we're not sponsored, so
no.
yeah, one day maybe. But yeah, so they're really great at tracking data and giving information with regards to the metrics of how your well-being is and how you're training. So that's kind of doing a lot of our work for us in terms of the tech. We're finding that naturally our suppliers are sort of upping their tech game, and it's obviously a massive part of the industry now. So luckily it's our job just to be at the cutting edge of what's out there, and we visit expos and speak to many suppliers, just keep our fingers on the pulse generally as to what the next big trends are. But
Yeah.
luckily our suppliers are really sort of going after that, and we're finding that they're coming to us with these incredible advancements which we can pass on to our clients.
Amazing. So we mentioned earlier about like the yoga feel and the more intense strength feel and training feel. How do you use materials, lighting, textures to kind of influence motivation and calmness within your spaces? Because you mentioned obviously the wellness side of things. A lot of wellness spaces are quite calm, quite relaxing. But when meshing them both together, how do you do that?
Okay, so I'm going to try and stay in my lane a little bit here because we have an interior designer, Hannah, who's part of the team, and she's incredible. She's very talented, very well educated, and has essentially had a lot of time in the saddle designing spaces and from a residential interior design background. So
I'll
if
make
we've
sure Hannah
got
sees this, don't worry.
yeah, you owe me one. Yeah. So yeah, so in terms of any projects we deliver that are very design led, and because it does vary, like one end of the spectrum, some clients just want a nice tidy looking space that and
Yeah.
they just want the equipment to sing, and they're not too interested in the aesthetics. To very design led individuals or couples or families who it's the design, the aesthetic has to be in keeping with their property,
Hmm.
or even exceed what their property looks like currently. So when it comes to that side of things, it's very much that's when we bring Hannah into the picture. But we, through kind of osmosis and just being amongst lots of consultations where Hannah's been, helping out clients and advising clients, we have picked up that, it's the mood is very much affected by the lighting, like I said
Yeah.
earlier. Just providing different textures can often like make a room look more interesting, and depending on what that texture is, whether you go for something more industrial or you go for something more spa like,
Yeah.
it can just give a whole different flavor to the room. So
For sure.
yeah, I'll stay in my lane a bit, but yeah, that's
Well,
essentially it.
the answer to that question is Hannah.
Yeah, basically Hannah, yeah.
Amazing. Right. Well, let's go on to something that that maybe you'll be able to give some more insight on from your perspective.
Sure.
Um, are there any design features that clients are consistently asking for in 2025 that you've kind of picked up on?
Yeah, so cladding is a big one. So acoustic
Interesting.
cladding. It's a really quite an easy way of installing, like you said, a different texture, a different natural material, which makes somewhere feel softer and warmer, and I guess just more visually appealing than a classic kind of brick or pretty breeze block or plastered wall.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely cladding, and you can get that in all sorts of colors. You can run LEDs through it. You can really make it look very cool and specific to the space you'd like it to furnish, as it were.
Hmm.
Um, we also are finding that previously there's been a massive focus on like almost nightclubby style gyms,
Yeah.
and whilst there's still a place for that, and they're very energizing, those dark colors and bright lights, like I completely get it, and I think for some people it's still the best way to go.
Hmm.
Generally we're finding that it's more kind of lighter tones and pastel colors, and with the ability to customize equipment, which is something which a lot of suppliers offer now,
Yeah.
you can come up with something which looks a bit more suited to a home than a commercial environment,
Yeah.
and therefore it appeals to you can actually change things up so it appeals to a broader market. So we're finding a lot of people asking about that as well.
Amazing. So we've spoken about wellness. Out of interest, have you had anyone ask you to kind of design wellness specific spaces, not so much gym related? Has anyone kind of come to you and said, oh, I want a wellness space. I don't want any weights. I don't want a treadmill in there. I just want a wellness space. Have you done much of that?
Yeah, we do them quite often actually.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it's it might be like a studio type feel to the
Hmm.
actual gym area, and then leading into a spa. So almost like a large wet room style
Oh, wow.
facility which has steam rooms, saunas, ice baths, and yeah, that's definitely a thing, and we're finding it almost on a, I'd say at least a couple of times a week we'll
Oh,
receive
wow.
inquiries like that. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
amazing.
it's
So
certainly
you're
becoming a
seeing a
thing.
real big uplift in that kind of space then?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we'll be sat here in 3, 4, 5 years time, and just as 3, 4, 5 years ago, a home gym wasn't very common. I think you'll find that a lot of houses will have some kind of wellness facility. And I think it sort of dials back into people are just more aware of their health and well-being now, whether it's their mental or physical health,
Hmm.
mainly through just being educated through social media, but also things like health trackers and
Yep.
smartwatches. And if you can get that data, it's a good kind of antidote to modern society, which is a bit of a kind of stress pressure cooker, which we're not really
100%.
designed to, or we haven't really evolved to and adapted to be able to cope with. So
Yeah.
I think people are trying to counterbalance that with having a facility at home, which kind of you know brings them back to
Back
a
to
relaxed
normality and a
state.
bit of, yeah, bit of
Yeah, yeah,
reality.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So, when it comes to working with a gym equipment brand, um, how does uh, how does effective collaboration look like to you?
Yeah, so first and foremost, the products have to be really good. So, innovative, high quality, and we need to be able to put our trust in the products. But we're a massive people-focused brand, so it's all about relationships for us, whether it's with our suppliers, amongst our team, with our clients, obviously. So we're just, I suppose, the nature of our team and the guys we have within the organization. So for us, if we can build a really good reputation relationship with the supplier,
Yeah.
the individual who's the kind of account manager,
Yeah.
that goes a long way with us, because ultimately we're putting our clients' trust in them
Yeah, for
via
sure.
us.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
so yeah, that's for us. It's a, it's got, the equipment's got to stand the test of time and be really innovative and good quality. And we've got to be able to trust the supplier and get on well, because ultimately I think when we're delivering projects, we're at the mercy of our supplier in terms of lead times and coordinating deliveries and things like that. So if we don't have the trust in the supplier, and we're therefore giving mixed messages to our clients,
It's never
it
going to work.
undermines everything we do. So yeah, that's a big factor for us.
Amazing. Right. Last few questions. Where do you see home fitness design heading in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, it's going very much in the wellness
Yeah.
direction. I think it's getting more and more design led. So I think you're going to find that the sort of interior design world and the sort of home fitness world really collide and become one. So that
Hmm.
every the gyms are becoming more personalized, more interestingly designed, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think you'll find that there'll be a big differential between various gyms. You're not going to have like a cookie cutter approach. Everything's
Hmm.
going to be very bespoke. So I don't think the actual equipment that will be within the gyms will change that much. I think you can see over the last 30, 40, 50 years, the same stuff stands the test of
Yeah.
time, and you do have fads that come and go, and you have tech bolt-ons
Yeah.
to existing machines. But I think ultimately the machines will be pretty damn similar, but you'll find that the aesthetic will change dramatically, and people will go really far down the kind of nightclubby, futuristic, immersive routes, and then really far down the kind of relaxation, wellness route as well. And I think people will be spending more money on these facilities as well, just as it becomes more of a priority. And you look at the younger generations coming through who are not shy about spending their disposable income on something health related, which is great. So I think we'll see suddenly, like this, not suddenly, but gradually, the standards of home gyms will rise over the next few years.
Fascinating. Okay. So like you kind of mentioned there, blending, you see it blending the wellness and the fitness together a lot more.
Yeah,
Um, do you see that? One, do you see that continuing to grow then? And
yeah.
two, do you think that more people that are coming to you for home gym and wellness spaces, do you think that will continue to grow in that sense of they'll be coming to you not necessarily for one or the other, or they will generally be coming to you for both?
Yeah, that we're definitely seeing that happening already. I think it will continue, and ultimately, everything sort of technology brings tends to be geared around saving people time, doesn't it? I
Yep.
mean, if you look, even just paying for things, it used to be,
Yep.
you'd write a check or get the money out. Now it's, then it'd be you put your card in and you put your PIN in, and then it's tap it
Now
and
it's
it's your
literally
watch.
just watch and walk
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think hopefully what the clients like about our service is it's a turnkey solution. So
Mhm.
they can come to us and they'll have one point of contact, which will be either myself or one of my colleagues, and they know that I just need to, discuss our vision, and then Matt or Guy or Seb or John will bring this to life. And then once they've agreed what this vision looks like, or we've agreed this, they will deliver that and manage the process. And I think a lot of our clients enjoy the fact that it's a one-stop shop and they don't have to speak to different tradesmen, different contractors,
Yeah.
and which is it's hassle. So yeah, I think I can definitely see that becoming more and more popular as people try and save more time and want less hassle effectively.
Amazing. Right. Final question. Everyone that watches this will know what this is going to be. Final question. It's a fun one.
Okay.
If budget and space were no
Yeah.
issue at all, what would your dream home gym and wellness space look like?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So I've got to be careful because we work with loads of different suppliers, so I
Don't name
can't
anyone.
big up
Just
one of them over the
yeah.
others. But
Let's not name
yeah,
anyone. Let's just go with what the idea.
yeah. So for me, like a view is absolutely essential. So I'd love to have a gym in a kind of elevated position, looking out over mountains and valleys. I think that would be really cool and really inspiring. In terms of the equipment, I like kind of industrial, well-made, good quality equipment over probably, well, with a bit of a design sort of angle on it, but
Yeah.
over something, super kind of chic and kind of bijou, which almost is sort of over-engineered. So for me, it would be like the good quality basics, so a good quality squat rack. I've got to be really careful. I don't mention any names, but really good quality squat rack, space for functional training, dumbbells, bench, and like I said, almost a little bit spit and sawdust in the sense that big, solid, natural steel materials,
Yeah.
but with a really cool view and just the ability to pump the music really, really loud. And yeah, anywhere where effectively my kids can't get in there and trash it as well. So massive lock on the door would
Massive
be
lock and
crucial. Yeah.
pin pad needed to get in. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Guy, that was an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed that. Tell everyone where they can find you. Tell everyone what you've got coming up, and yeah.
Yeah, so we are found at thegympeople.co.uk or at the Gym People on Instagram. My name's Guy Hollis. I'm on LinkedIn a fair bit, so you can contact me there. What we've got coming up is more of what we do, hopefully. So we've been really fortunate to grow quite rapidly. The team's growing. We're getting new guys on board every couple of months at this rate. So yeah, we're looking to do large commercial projects, the full turnkey solution, as well as continue to do home gyms as well. So more of the same if we're lucky.
Amazing. Brilliant.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we get to speak to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Jay. Good to chat.
Cheers, mate.